much width, but height, it'll it won't render that part, and all of a sudden the whole thing will blow down. I've got a site that does it right now, and it uses a Revolution slider, so that's going to get the old Eve hoe.
Yeah, axe.
Yeah, and actually, I'm thinking about going, taking every site I have and putting it on Generate Press.
Can't hear you, Bill. You're muted.
Yeah, Bill, you turn it on, it works better.
We lost our chief.
Yeah, suspense is killing me.
Hello.
There
Yeah.
There
you
you
are.
are.
It's not the microphone that I'm warm my.
That's
you're
cutting
muted
out
again.
again, Bill. You must have a bad wire in it. Is it plugged in? Not now. That's
It
not
was-
supposed to come into effect for 6 months, though, right? So that's basically like the speed factor, right? They are going to slowly bring it in. But I think all these updates lately have just been turning the screws on old stuff. Little bit tighter as they learn a little bit more.
Still can't hear you, Bill.
I think Bill's saying is,
Oh, yeah, I hear you mumbling.
there you go, Bill.
Say something.
I think he's making some adjustments.
Maybe he can't hear us.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you hear us? Apparently
Hello?
not.
Don't you hate it when that happens?
Yeah.
Hello.
There we go.
Technology.
Hear you now, Bill.
When you say something. Say something.
Hello.
There.
Yeah. We hear you when you speak. I think the problem is he can't hear us.
Hello.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear us? Apparently not. Technology is wonderful.
Yep.
Mhm.
I made my own problems this morning when I first came on with Bill. This microphone unplugs from the headset, and he couldn't hear me. I looked over here, and it's laying on my desk. And I did that a couple of days ago. I was chatting with Lee Byrne, and I did the same thing. Can you hear
Is
us,
that the
Bill?
guy- Lee, is that the guy from the dojo from the
Yeah,
UK?
Lee Byrne. Yeah.
That's the cars.
Hello?
Ah, we got
Hey,
you.
you're loud and clear, Bill. You hear us? I think
Apparently
he
not.
still doesn't hear us.
Hello?
Hello. Testing.
Hello?
Testing
We
one.
hear you.
You're good. How about us? Testing. 1, 2, 3. Hello. We got you.
Are your speakers on?
That's weird because he was fine earlier.
Yeah.
Testing.
Hello?
There you go.
Oh, you're good. You just can't hear us.
Hello?
Hello. You're
We
good.
hear you.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Oh,
Can
good.
you
I
hear
can
me?
hear you. Good deal.
We can hear you. Good.
Don't move, for God's sake. Don't even breathe.
Tape yourself.
Don't know
to the
why.
chair.
Don't know why this stopped working right. But it's good to be back. Okay. So,
Probably got a loose wire in it somewhere.
Yeah. It's the slider's
it's
fault.
Or a
possible.
loose nut.
Okay.
More than our
So-
share of those, that's for sure.
So this new ranking signal at Google is one that they said is going to become live in 6 months or so, and it's based on user experience on web pages, and that's to some degree based upon how quickly content loads on your site.
And that it
And how it
doesn't
works.
shift. You know how a page comes in and it seems to be rendering, and all of a sudden everything gets pushed down real fast and a big image comes up.
When you don't set dimensions on images, and when as they load, they shiver and shake like Jello.
The
Or
div
just jump-
too. You
Yeah.
gotta
Yeah, mobile, they'll
also.
Go ahead.
I was going to say you also have to put dimensions on your divs.
Yeah, because especially on mobile, sometimes it'll start to come up. Maybe you'll see a text box appear with no text in it yet, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden it just totally disappeared. It'll go 4 screens down on your phone.
That's annoying to users. It happens on the desktop too, Doc.
Yep, sure
I have a
does.
site that it does it on, and there's nothing I can do about it. All I can do is replace the theme. Unless I want to hack the theme, and I've decided I'll replace them before I'll hack them now.
So Google is referring to this as customer or user experience signals, but they're not things like pogo sticking or bounce rates.
They're not what we would usually call
Right.
user experience problems. However, you can look at them and say that most of them are covered in other. We're not live yet, by the way, Bill.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
I show us live.
It says
Okay.
live. 6,
okay, yeah, my
57,
bad, my bad.
It's okay. Ed, Sarah.
Hey,
What I
Hey, Sarah.
was saying was,
You were saying?
I was saying that if you don't put those in, it is a bad experience, and they're just all these things. I think they learned in their training. Whatever they're doing with the machine learning has told them that this is annoying, and users aren't digging it. So, just like the page load, that's how it's a user experience. Is it pisses off the user.
So it's a user experience signal because users tend to like pages that load quickly.
Load quickly and aren't,
And stable.
just, you're reading something and then all of a sudden it's gone when
Yeah.
it's a bigger image. I've got a site that does that. And there's not a lot, like I said, there's not a lot you can do about it other than hack the code or replace the theme.
I don't know. I don't understand the logic sometimes. Users don't like it when they're reading something and all of a sudden an ad just throws itself on top of the content either. And they're not going to get rid of that.
No, that's not a problem.
And I would say interstitials have been a problem from day one. It's just not talked about anymore.
So that's referred to as cumulative shift layout.
cumulative.
When you get that shifting.
CSL.
Oh, cumulative. Okay.
Cumulative layout shift.
So
the
when you're
CLS.
reading something and all of a sudden everything shifts and then you're looking at an image instead of the place where you were reading. Yes, that's very
Yeah.
annoying.
So
And
that's-
it's just poor development, really. That's what it comes down to. And stupid themes.
Stupid thing.
Don't forget the stupid plugins. There's some of those too.
Oh, there are a lot of those.
So this is Google's ongoing effort to make a better web and associate ranking signals with things that make a better web.
Theoretically, that's my understanding.
Theoretically.
Okay, we'll go with that, Sarah.
But you can look at it another way. What are the solutions? You're going to see SEOs that just say, you know what, that big slider, let's do some research and find out that it don't do nothing. Nobody clicks them. You know, people who say, you know, they work for me. Well, how do you know? Where's the data? Show me the data, and they never can. They just like the big, pretty graphic, and they're willing to lie about it in order to fucking keep it.
Rather than building pages that contain the information they're trying to show with the slider.
Yeah, right.
Well,
I find it
here's
really
the thing.
annoying.
Go ahead, Zara. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just find it annoying when I'm going to a page for whatever the reason to find out something, and all of a sudden I've got pictures of happy people, you know, or whatever it is, and then another picture of happy people, and I actually have to, and it's huge, so I have to scroll down to go and try and find the information I was looking for. I find it really annoying.
And those pictures of happy people tend to be stock images that look
Yes,
like
they
androids.
do.
They don't look like real people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a turnoff. You should have real people on your web pages.
Not so easy to do.
Sure, you take a camera out, you point it at somebody who doesn't look like they're
yeah, and they can
model.
sue you after. They can sue you after.
Well,
too.
you hire those people, and then
Okay.
Well, I'm thinking about so Kayak, you know, Randy does pictures of the office with pictures of real people that work at Kayak.
Yeah.
But they're
it
isn't in a big slider at the top, of course, because it's Randy. But you know, I mean, he does do real people in a real situation.
Hope he's getting waivers. No, seriously.
No, yeah.
If
well,
I was an employee there and I wanted to piss the guy off, that's exactly what I'd do. Is sue him for that. Because there's nothing like someone who's doing content getting sued for not getting the proper authorization for content. Not something you want on your record.
Anytime you take a photo of somebody, you get a model release.
Should always have a release, yeah.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Just because they're employees, you don't own their face.
No,
you only own their time.
And you have to do a model release. That's just part of photography, and Randy's pretty hip about that.
But I get your point, Bill. But sometimes it's easier to just use stock photos.
So here's a picture of an orchid. Has nothing to do with my business.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing, too. I remember the day I would laugh at a page that had useless images on it. I'd just say, what a waste, you know. But now, if you don't have them, it's expected. You got to have it. You know, you can't just put up text. You got to have a picture with it. It's bullshit. It's a waste. You know, all that matters is the information. Most people don't care shit for the picture. It's just a picture. Who cares?
Well, I think it depends, like so many things, Terry. I mean, sometimes
just like
picture can be very helpful. From an aesthetic standpoint, breaking up in some fashion, whether it be with images or just air, space, breaking up the text does help from a reading standpoint. But it does, to me, it never makes any sense. If you like Sarah's example, here's an orchid to represent what you should think about my content site. Mm-hmm. Use something relevant. Okay, you're interested in image search. Well, then use an image that's relevant to you and your business and your offering, your product.
If you're selling a product like shoes, there's supposed to be a certain number of different views of those shoes you're supposed to show on your page for you to be effective in selling them. You have to show them like from seven different views.
So why not just do videos? Even better. In my experience.
Some people hate videos.
No, I haven't met them.
Well, because
Sorry.
they have to put captions on them and, transcription and all that if they're going to be accessible ones. So, yeah, it's an extra step.
I worked with a website. We had hundreds of videos, and they were on the product pages, and those pages were the pages that had the best ROI and what do you call it? Conversion rate.
Mm-hmm. Well, I
Because
think
you can see the actual instruments being played, right? Same with clothing. People would rather see how it's draped on a person and how it looks when they're walking and stuff than seeing a stationary picture.
Well, that's true. That's true.
That's my point, Bill. I'm not saying, just if you can get video, it's probably better than a big picture that takes forever for.
With a product like shoes, I'm not sure you need a video for every type of shoe.
No.
But if you provide things that views of those shoes that people want to see, like the soles, what they look like when they're worn from front, from side, so on, give people those perspectives, and it's more likely you'll sell those shoes.
Yeah, get a foot model.
Well, I
Get
think
her to sign the waiver.
Zappos does all of that. Zappos does all the different views, side that shows the bottom, that shows the sole. But then
there's
for a lot of their products, excuse me, they also have videos, and the videos are, just regular Zappos employees. They talk about the shoe and hold it and point out features. But then the video also includes them walking with those shoes on. So you have an idea of what that shoe looks like walking and how it actually performs walking.
So it's a full shoe experience.
The full
Yeah,
shoe experience, yeah.
I believe
just wanted-
Magento has that feature built into it, and you can get plugins that will do those features.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
I don't work with retail, so yeah, all right.
I've seen them before, so of course I looked it up, see what's it about. But to me, I've always been, it's all fluff. It's all fluff. Don't need it. Just give me text. I don't care about the rest.
Well, for a while there, I was testing a whole lot of cosmetic websites.
Uh-huh.
And for that target market, the videos were converted
Yeah.
because everybody wanted to see how it was applied. And then they started to compete.
You
This is how I did it.
You also have to look at it that there's another generation coming up who go to YouTube way before they'll go to Google.
Yep.
And I think Google's gotten a lot better, YouTube has gotten a lot better at optimizing videos. They're able to index stuff on videos that's not contained solely within the text description of the video. Like you can search for car races at YouTube and get videos that include car races in them, and the titles and the descriptions don't say anything about those car races at all.
Yeah, I use it a lot on the Xbox for finding stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I saw somebody make an interesting proposition the other day about YouTube and how they go about indexing content to match their search.
Yeah.
That even if you're not allowing closed captioning, and even if you don't have things that are in the description or in any way mentioned in text, that they're still showing up in YouTube search for things. So that the premise that this guy proposed, and it might have some merit, is that maybe they're not putting closed captioning on the screen, but they're still letting their AI determine what's being talked about and rating their search upon that. And I think that there's a real possibility there.
They're
Yeah,
tagging frames. We're tagging
Yeah.
frames with
Tagging
keywords.
frames, okay.
Yeah, I agree there, but I've seen the captioning. It's let's put it
captioning-
this way. When I looked at it, I said, I'm not even going to bother to edit this because I can't figure out what I was saying.
I tell you what, I noticed that about a couple of months ago, I guess, when we were already in this COVID shutdown thing, I did one for a client with captioning, and I was dumbfounded how much it has improved. It was nowhere near perfect, okay, but it had improved tremendously over a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And another
Okay,
one,
that's when I
It
was
really
looking
bad
at
a
it.
couple of years ago.
yeah, I was really surprised. Also, another one, kind of as an aside to that, Google Translate. I mean, we all laughed about how poor that used to be, but I did one the other day, and it was like 500 words. It was flawless.
Wow.
Yeah, I never saw the problem. I used to translate a lot of Spanish, and the only thing I found was it got gender stuff wrong quite often.
That
Like-
that was the only error that I found in that particular
Yeah.
piece of text. It was translating from French, and they were talking about a female subject. She said this,
And
how
they're
it had
saying
affected his lifestyle. And it wasn't a his; it should have been a hers or her.
Yeah,
But that was the only error in the entire
Yeah,
thing. Well,
that's-
because it was in French, that actually was a pretty reasonable error to make. If you were from Quebec, you might make the same mistake if you were looking at just the sentence. Okay, so I was blown away. YouTube
Well,
closed captioning has improved.
Maybe that's because it reads it literally. So because the what's the can't think of the grammatical term for those words, but her
Pronoun.
shoe, his shoe. It in French it matches the gender of the noun. It doesn't matter if
Yeah.
he owns it.
Oh yeah.
Exactly. That's why I said it was a reasonable error to make, because that possessive pronoun matched.
Pronoun. Thank
Had
you.
a 50-50 chance of being correct, okay? Because they weren't looking at
Yeah,
the
right.
but it was a reasonable error, and I was just really pleasantly surprised to see how much they both had improved. Because I have dissed Google Translate with great gusto for years, but and I think that the closed captioning has improved. It's not as improved as Google Translate, okay, but it is getting a lot better.
I wonder, Bill, do you think that could be a result of the research they did with telephone and listening to that language and processing it? From those telephones that they were giving away and stuff, they had a lot of
Oh wow.
They
to train
okay,
something.
So they ran Goog 411 for 5
Right.
years,
Right.
and it was a free online directory, and you could call in, ask your different business types, and it was a free service. So they wouldn't charge for it. So they ran it for 5 years, and then one day they said, "Okay, we've got enough data. We're no longer
Shut her
running
down.
this." Yeah.
But that's what I mean. They got a lot of data, and they had the top guy in that kind of processing, right, working on it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't surprise me that translate and the captioning is improved.
Well, they're using deep learning and neural networks for a lot of things now that they weren't before. I've noticed that with patents. There are a lot more patents to talk about how they're looking at features from websites, from different types of interactions, and learning from different quality models, language models. To understand what something's about. And that they used to drill down into different aspects of websites and would rank pages based upon those aspects. Now they just say, and we build a model, and we base everything on this model. So we have training data that we send to the model. It learns about the things we want to show, and then we test it with testing data to see if we're getting it right. And the patents aren't really descriptive about types of things that you might want to do to try to make your pages or processes better. They give you some hints about what the final result might look like. But you know, when you're doing something like word sense disambiguation with a neural network, and they tell you, okay, some words have like 40% of English words are have more than one meaning, and we'll look for context words in the text that appears with those words to try to get some sense of what the word sense is for that word.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't provide any information about how to actually improve your own site, but they give you a sense of how a language model might do that. And that's become more common. We've got that with Google with them interpreting audio better in videos. They're analyzing the audio. So they've got all these audios on YouTube that they're studying and studying and studying some more. So they've got time to improve those transcripts because they're the subject of lots of studies. So they know them inside out and backwards.
I've been reading a little bit about that myself. They're finding that the voice search results are drastically different than somebody typing in.
So they've been studying something. They've been studying something they refer to as prosody, where they study the pauses and the emphasis that people place in words to get a sense of how well or how poorly they speak. And that's when they developed a process where they'll phone businesses for you to make reservations. They're using what they learned from that prosody, from analyzing people's voices to generate those phone calls. So people don't realize that they're talking to a computer when Google makes those reservations for you.
Crazy, isn't it?
Right, because they have the ahs and the pauses and so on. They sound like real people.
Those kind of things also can be used to kind of determine intent, right?
To some degree, there are ways to tell possibly what the age is of the person you're talking to. So when someone gets on has a Google speaker device in front of them and they ask to see pictures of a kitty cat, they want a cat, but it's maybe a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old asking.
Oh, right.
Okay.
And
I was talking with some. I was going to say another example is, do you search for vegan or plant-based as the keyword? I was talking to somebody about that today, and I know that vegan is starting to have its own culture behind it. Viewed as like a little bit differently, but if you say I'm looking for a plant-based diet, it changes the meaning entirely.
it's like a keto diet.
They've never enjoyed a good steak. That's all I'll say.
Yep. Seriously, I was talking to a client today about that, and he's like, plant-based? And I'm like, yeah, that's what my kids call it. They don't say vegan, they say plant-based.
That's because of the new products that are on the market. They're really being pushed on TV big time. It's almost like every chain of restaurants has to have some kind of fake food. That's what I call it. Fake
So
food.
But no, I don't watch TV. So on those ads, it's like they actually say plant-based. That's what they say. That's the term they use.
That's if
And
it depends on your target market, but that's the search word that some of the these.
You know how they
specific
make it
age
taste
groups
like
are
a
using.
hamburger? You know how they make that taste like a hamburger? Chemicals. So you're not plant-based. You're having a chemical burger.
Well, the thing too, when you say if you say that you're offering a vegan plate, there are so many things that cannot touch that food at any point. Okay,
Yeah.
whereas plant-based, okay, I could do egg battered.
Yeah, you can have eggs and
eggplant,
milk and
okay,
all kinds of
and
stuff.
that is plant-based because the eggplant, okay, is vegetarian, but it's got egg batter on it. So, it's safer from a legal standpoint because if the guy in the kitchen has taken the same spatula he's using over here for flipping a burger and used it to flip that eggplant, it is no longer vegan. Okay.
the first place
You shouldn't be
I'd
doing that,
seen
Doc,
referring
just so
to
you
food
know.
as plant-based were medical sources, like
Mm.
books that talked about plant-based diets to help people with heart conditions. So it's not necessarily a catchphrase that people are using to indicate food that's powered by chemicals.
That's what the manufacturer calls it, Bill.
Plant-based.
Yeah, I'm just saying that
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see.
it's a jargon or a term of art that originally started with doctors, with medical
Right.
people,
Oh, okay.
saying
No, I think.
a plant-based diet is healthier than a meat-based diet.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense.
I guess I'm destined to be very unhealthy. Then.
Me too. The only thing I want out of the pasture is being grazing.
Well, so Terry, we talked a little bit about one of the articles that you found for us to discuss today, and there were some other ones. There
Yeah.
was one about unnatural links.
Yeah, Toxic Links. That was by SEM Rush. That was a pretty good article, but, guys like us, they're just telling us what we've known for years anyhow.
Right. So how many of you all have used disavow files?
I have many occasions
Yep, many.
and never thought twice about it.
Okay, so I've run into sites that scrape my site lots of times and never once thought about disavowing those sites.
Okay.
Because I've expected to see sites that scrape other sites.
Okay.
I get a site like Moz
That's different.
that they link to something on my site, and all of a sudden I get emails telling me that the article that linked to my site has been copied 40 or 50 times by other sites that are scraping Moz.
Yeah, but what about when you look at a profile and you find a whole lot of young teens and Viagra links pointed at your site? That's the kind of garbage that I typically will disavow.
So I'm not getting any of those, Doc.
Oh,
Yeah,
when
that's Bill. Every site is different.
Right.
I've seen a site that had, they were trying. Someone was attacking them,
negative SEO.
and and it does happen. Even when Google said it couldn't be done, I saw it. I've seen it.
Yep.
I've seen it. When Dave and I were doing work, it definitely worked. But usually the person was doing something else in addition to what that person trying to do negative SEO was doing. So in other words, they were already shady. These guys just made them even look shadier. But here's the thing that I thought, like the disavow file. right? Straight from Matt Cutts to David Harry. Use the disavow file. If you ever disavow a link that we don't think you should have, we'll never take that value from you. And that makes sense because Google in no way wants SEOs determining the link graph. And you could do that if disavow. You could do that with disavow.
So does that mean that 2005's no index attribute was a misstep by Google because it gave SEOs the power to determine whether or not links pass value?
Well,
I think that's different.
Well, Google changed that from a directive to a hint recently. So
Okay.
so they took the power back. They said we're the ones who can decide whether or not that link passes any page rank.
Yeah.
Right.
We're not going to follow your directive anymore.
Here's the thing. People who are dumb enough to de-index pages in their site and leave them up, right?
Yeah,
So in other words, no follow, no index, right?
like a
That was the
Wikipedia.
dumbest thing. Wikipedia, you can't compare Wikipedia to any other site. That's not, I don't care. You can't, that's like comparing the New York Times to Joe Blow's news site. I'm sorry.
Wikipedia did do that. They did turn all the links into no follow links.
Oh, because they didn't want to have to worry, probably. But Google is still counting links from Wikipedia, I'll tell you that much. I don't think anybody would argue that links from Wikipedia help a site.
But Wikipedia, by no following those links, told Google, don't follow these links. Google, in changing those links, no follow links from directives to hints, took the power back to allow them to follow links from Wikipedia if they wanted
Well,
to.
they also basically said no follow doesn't mean anything now. You sponsored or user generated or whatever it
Well,
was.
they offered those two alternatives. They didn't say you had to get rid of your no follow attributes.
Yeah, it's the fact they specifically said you didn't have to.
But the thing is, right, in my opinion, Google in no way was taken, if you put no follow, right, all that was saying to them was, hey, this webmaster is saying, I don't know what the hell's going up with this link. I want to link to the site because it's pertinent, but I don't know how many other idiots they have linked to off of other pages. So I'm going to no follow this. Same with if you receive payment or something for the link, then you had to put no follow on it. That's in the HTML5 specification for no follow.
It wasn't the original implementation of no follow.
Nope,
That came out in 2005, right?
But Google had input into that, right? And this is for HTML writers, not SEOs. They were telling webmasters, if you're not sure about a link, use no follow. And
Well,
if you got paid or received something, in other words, if you had done it for any other reason, then it was good content, you should no follow it. That's what they were basically saying at the time of the HTML5 specification, which
if I recall,
on.
If I recall correctly, Joe, I think it was originally Matt Cutts that actually used in one of his little videos the term vouch for. You know, if you don't feel like you can vouch for this target site, you might want to no follow it so that it won't count against you. You know, but that's now changed. Now it's a hint, you know, recommendation or suggestion.
It was always a hint. Believe me, it was always a hint.
Well, okay, except Google said we won't follow this. They made that absolute, and people from Google have said we made a pact with website owners, with HTML creators, that we would not follow those links. So that's why we're changing it to a hint, because we're changing that now.
Yeah.
May I change what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Google would give value to the site that's being linked to still if they didn't agree with the no follow. That was my point.
Except they're saying now that they weren't doing that. They weren't giving value to those.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, the point where they changed them from directives to hints, their words, not mine, their words.
right.
They said we're taking the ability to control whether or not we pass PageRank or not back from the webmasters.
But my point, right, is maybe that's them saying what they were doing all along. We don't know that wasn't the case.
We don't know that they didn't give those links value.
Right. But we don't know that they did also. That's my point.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's their story. That's what
Yeah.
Google was claiming.
In air quotes, story. That's what they'd like you to believe. I just joshing it. That's all.
So when we have a site like Forbes turn all their external links into no follow links, which they did.
Yeah, well, they're idiots. So, can't fix stupid, Phil. That's just the
Well,
way it
given the
is.
nature of Forbes, I would not be surprised
that's
to
what I
find out
mean.
that Google had been giving them all an inferred no follow for years because they print
Even
garbage.
before, right. Didn't Forbes get into some trouble too, right? For bad
Not
linking?
nearly enough.
Well, yeah, for sure. They'll sell their soul for $1.
Okay, so another article you linked to was about
Bill, just one
Yes.
more thing on that. The reason that I brought it up was that in SEM Rush's article, they said that it was possible that Google had said it's possible to hurt your site using the disavow file.
I saw that.
that's when you disavow one link that you don't like, but you disavow the whole domain, and you remove the value of other links from the same domain to your site.
I did that on every disavow file I ever did, because if I disavow a site, it's because I never want to see another link from that site because I've deemed it to be pure crap.
Right, but what I'm saying is Google's saying it's harmful because if you're disavowing one link, but you're disavowing on a domain-wide basis, you're disavowing all links from the site.
Yeah,
So you aren't just disavowing one link, and you're hurting yourself because you're removing the page rank you would get from the other links. That's
Which
the
may
argument
or may-
Google was making, saying that disavow could be deadly because you might remove more page rank from your site than
but Matt
You
Cutts
should
told
have
David
gotten-
that couldn't happen. Matt Cutts told David, right, that if you disavowed a link that they thought was good, they would still give you the value.
Okay, but you're not refuting what I just said.
Okay.
What I said
What Google has said.
what I said was they were telling us if you don't like one link from a site and
Right.
you want to remove it, but you disavow the whole domain, you're disavowing all links from a site, and you're
Right.
removing any page rank that you might get from the other links that are different than that one link. And that's how disavow can hurt your site, because you can remove more page rank than you really want to.
Hey, Bill, can I make one other point on that
Yeah.
Google penalty site that Terry found?
Yeah.
That I think is worth mentioning. It's not to do with the disavow. There was a list in there by percentage of the number of percentage of cases of penalization, what they pertain to is whether they were
Yeah.
sponsored or paid links, pure spam, whatever. And one that I think that escapes a lot of attention was it's only 7%, but it's links in widgets. I looked at an awful lot of widgets over the years, and probably well over half of them have links hidden in them. that a lot of site owners and even developers, I think, don't look for or don't realize are there. And that's something that people need. When you add a widget to your site, you need to make sure you're not also adding a link to a site that you don't want to link out to.
And the other type that people might miss are when people have tag clouds.
Oh yeah.
And a tag cloud can, it's something that Matt Cutts pointed out as potentially being a problem.
You
But
want to
you-
mix Google up, put a cloud tag on every page on your website. It won't know the hell what any page is about because it's got a cloud tag on every page.
That could do that, yeah.
Yeah. Just having a bunch of irrelevant. I had a fairly well-known site, got hit by Panda, couldn't figure out what it was. Finally, I went to Dave and I said, look, go ask Mr. Cutts what he thinks. And it turned out was they had links to other articles that were kind of relevant, but not totally relevant to the material on the page. That's what did it. Removed those and everything went right back to where it was.
Okay, so we get a recent warning about guest posting and how that may be harmful. Did you see where that came up? Why that was an issue? That one tool maker was providing guest posting services. For some reason, they decided that it was a good idea, so they started finding sites to match you up with, to go guest post on. And it was one of those where you got a certain number of links from the guest post to wherever you wanted. And they're charging for that. And this is after we've seen Google penalize people in the past for guest posting.
That's just a glorified link network.
Not even very
Might
glorified.
as well be, not even glorified. It's right out there. You're even
blatant.
advertising. You're even advertising it.
Right.
So, yeah, for sure. Could have told them that wasn't going to go far. However,
It
I
reminded me
think to take it,
it reminded me of Search King back in 2003.
Yeah.
I remember Search King. Yeah.
And you paid based upon the PageRank level. So if you want
selling
a link
page
from
rate by the pound.
if you wanted a link from a PageRank 7 website, you paid $700 a month, right? A link from a PageRank 8, you paid $800 a month.
Bob Bass. I know them all.
So Google took the PageRank of the website, Search King's website, and reduced it, dropped it from a 7 to a 2.
Yeah.
And so
See-
the owner, Bob Mass, the owner of Search King, sued for a temporary injunction against Google so that they would move the PageRank back up to 7. And federal court said PageRank is Google's First Amendment freedom of speech opinion. And if they want to give you PageRank 2 instead of PageRank 7, they can do
That's
that.
their business, yeah.
Yeah.
So the other thing is, there was two things in there that they talk about as being toxic.
Yeah.
That's press releases and guest posting. Now, we just discussed the guest posting. I truly believe that guest posting is not all that. For instance, you write for several sites. That's guest posting. Are you going to stop doing it?
Is it guest posting? They're treating me as a columnist.
Right, that's the difference. But if you ask an SEO, you know what he'll tell you that is?
What?
guest posting. The only difference is you have a relationship with that site, and that's the reason that you're doing it, correct?
Right. And editorially, they tell me you can't link to certain types of sites. They have some control over what I do.
Right. Like you couldn't drop a link in context even. Right.
Right. I'm not linking to client sites
Right.
Right.
Or your own.
or my own. Well,
Right.
sometimes I am if it's relevant to what I'm writing about.
Oh, and yours is the only article pertinent to it that you can, yeah. That makes sense. But here's the thing. They went as far as to say even a byline link is bad. I think that can only be if you're not on a site that you should be on to begin with.
Okay, so I write for Pro Writing Aid, and they do have a byline a short byline on my site, on the article. So, and I have similar guidelines about the link. Don't link to my own website or any of that stuff. But
Well,
I that can't be considered a guest post because I have a relationship with them.
but here's the thing. Even if it was a guest post, right? So a doctor guest posts on a hospital blog,
Right?
right? So,
They're trying to get rid of guest post mills. They're trying to get rid of businesses that
Right.
run that exist to provide guest posts to places.
that's why calling what you do guest posting is not a good idea. And why you were probably reluctant to admit that you were doing it.
I've been thinking about that for a couple of days because
I kind of thought so by your
I am
reaction.
being a columnist in those places. If I'm writing
That's
for
why you don't have
Search
to
Engine
worry.
Journal once a quarter, it's because I write for them. I'm not
Right.
posting. I haven't negotiated with them to publish a link to an article that I've sold to them for the right to link to 2 or 3 places of my choice.
I don't think, I think that if
I
I
hope
would
they tell you
invite
to fuck off.
if I was to invite you to do a guest post on my personal blog, my business blog, say, discussing a topic that I've already discussed in other posts, maybe it's a service, the type of service that I offer, that's still perfectly valid. So my feeling is that Google is just trying to add one more thorn to discourage this indiscriminate use of guest blogs, and if they can scare another 70% of the offenders away, they'll be happy. I think
they're trying
probably
to
all it really
avoid.
is.
I think they're trying to avoid people running guest blog businesses.
Yeah,
Yep.
just try to scare a few more of these idiots away. But I don't necessarily think that they see all guest blogs as bad. But I
Right.
think obviously they have to be a whole lot more focused than what most of what we see out there are.
You know how you know a guest blog? When you go to it, there's 15 topics on the homepage.
Well, that's one way.
That's the best way.
There is an
I
article.
see
on
that. I
Search
don't
Engine
even
Journal.
have to look at the rest of the site.
There
And
is an
that
article
came
on Search
again
Engine
from
Journal.
Matt Cutts. Pardon me?
There's an article on Search Engine Journal where they're quoting John Mueller
Right.
about.
Yeah.
Google cautions
what I-
against guest posting. This is
Yeah.
what's really going on.
Yeah. And it says someone asked John about how Google identifies Google or guest posts. And he said, usually it's pretty obvious. That's his.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what, even when Dave used to have a good relationship with Matt. And
And
he-
Matt did a Matt Cutts blog post where he gave an example of what they sometimes see, and they were it was a string of text with about 100 or so words long, with about 40 links into it that linked to everything. And he said, "This is what we're seeing. This is what we don't want to see."
Yeah, but
Cut it
also
out.
I know that they want to see themed blogs. They don't want to see. It's pretty obvious when you have 15 different topics on your front page what you're
Right.
doing, right? That's not a themed blog by any means.
Well, yeah. If somebody has Kim guest blog on their SEO site about accessibility, I just do not believe for a moment that Google is going to say that that's bad and they shouldn't be doing that. Sorry.
But I can tell you a blog that I've seen in Toronto that is for the Toronto area. It covers all kinds of topics and it can rank like crazy for any topic on Toronto. And it won't be counted as guest blogging.
But it focuses
fact-
on Toronto-based
Yes,
information.
and it's high quality content. That's the other thing. High quality content. So, the main thing to look at is I always had one rule. If I'm only doing this to get a link and don't care about the audience, that's not somewhere I should be posting.
There you go.
If it's someplace that I want to be seen, then that's why I've always said that when spam, you want to find spam, find stuff that someone has written but has never posted on Facebook or any of their social channels. That's the spam. I'm sure that's why Google likes Facebook and places like that for verification. That's why I've always thought that had something to do with why they had such a correlation to high-ranking sites. That was part of the reason that I felt like how that happened.
I still don't understand why people send me emails saying, I would like to put a guest blog post on your website.
Yeah.
I have never in 25 years ever had a guest blog post on any of my websites.
Because nobody teaches outreach anymore. How to do it properly. Like you actually go to their website, maybe even read one or two articles. Oh, geez, and if you're real, you can read 3 or 4.
It's the same, by the same reason, Kim, that you might get an email offering to sell you their chocolate making recipe book or alligator hide sewing handbook, because they get these automated programs and they do no looking. Why do we get emails all the time trying to sell us SEO services for some clown in Bangladesh? Because he's never looked at the website to see that we sell SEO services.
I get an email from somebody saying your page
Your site
is the
doesn't
most
rank.
brilliant page I've ever read, and they're linking to my privacy policy. And it's like,
Yeah, I have seen that. Yeah, but it was brilliant.
yeah.
Oh, boy.
I get requests for links. I read your article on X, and you should see our article about not X. And we want you to link to our article about not X on your site. And I'm like, not, but
I get those. I simply respond back to them with a phony PayPal address and a $100 invoice. Generally never hear back. In fact, I think only one guy in the last 5 years has ever even bothered. He came back to me like, "You're kidding, right?"
And you get those emails asking how much it costs for a post.
Mm-hmm.
How much it costs? Oh my God.
Yeah, so they want to know how much it costs for them to post something on my website. Like I would ever let them. No.
Anybody who read your site would know that you wouldn't do that.
Really?
So I'd like to post about job search after college on your website.
That's very appropriate.
Yeah, that's something I would write about. Yeah.
Yeah.
I miss the SEO Hall of Shame at Creative Site Forums when I was like so fed up and we would just plaster their stuff. And if in the beginning we were polite and
Yeah.
hid who was doing the spam, and towards the end we were like hauling out, like linking and telling everybody who they were, because enough was enough. And we had pages and pages and pages of just their stuff.
Yeah, I got an email last week, and the person was trying to sell me SEO services and gave me the big list of 30 directory links and
Yeah.
Oh,
all
well.
things like that. Things that
Yeah.
I would call questionable SEO tactics when they were actually used by people.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, don't kid yourself. They're still being used
You're still being used.
by that guy who sent you the email.
I
Right?
know.
But there's lots of people who still think that works. However, if you're thinking local and it's right, they are the best links to get for local.
Mm.
They're about the only links you can get that will really affect your local E SEO.
And then there are like 5 or 6 people who have lists of do follow blogs.
Never want to get on that list.
I've been on a few of those, and they're like,
Yeah,
no.
that's not good.
And people posting spam web blog comments. They're like, thanks for allowing me to post this link.
I gotta go. I just got a text. I have to log off.
Okay, bye,
It was,
Kim.
we're gonna close down, but thank you for joining us.
All right, Kim.
Thank
Good
you
seeing
for
you.
having
Take
me.
care.
Good to see you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
I know. That's our show for today, everyone. Thank you.
We actually didn't talk about it today either.
Yeah.
That's almost 2 weeks in a row.
We're backsliding.
It's good to have a moment or two to talk about SEO. There's so much other stuff going on.
Oh boy, is there.
And it takes up every moment on TV, on the radio.
Well, between that and the protests,
Yeah, I'm sort of scared to go to next door to read about protests because reading other posts, somebody talks about what upstanding people police officers are. And they don't understand why people are so mad at the police. It's like, did you not watch the thing that they're protesting about?
And the other things.
no, but
Many
it's just
things.
the way the police were. It was hippies in the 60s, too. You know, like just because you had long hair, you were looked upon like you were some kind of degenerate. In some cases, they were right, but a lot
Yeah,
of
in some
times
cases,
they
they were right about us. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I forget you were probably one, too.
Speaking
Doc.
for a friend.
But, you know, it goes back a long ways. Ohio's, you know, what happened in Ohio. Like, you know, as soon as the country starts shooting its own people, there's a problem.
Yeah.
There's the problem.
We're gonna have protests going on about police brutality, and the president's gonna chase a bunch of peaceful protesters off of Lafayette Square so he can get a photograph of him holding a Bible in front of a church saying what a good person he is.
Did you
Yeah,
see
he's
his
everything he
address,
does
Bill?
is just ensuring no more of him after
He's-
January.
He signed this morning, and I haven't seen all the details on it yet because you had just sent me the link to this, so I haven't had a chance
Yeah.
to read it all. But he signed this morning an executive order dealing specifically with directives for the police in connection with the brutality and unions and all this good stuff. So it'll be
And
interesting.
I understand it didn't ban chokeholds and stuff like that people were asking for it to do.
It
I
didn't?
only heard him say something about banning the use of chokeholds, except when the officer's life was in danger. I heard him specifically say that, which is like, okay, fine.
They
been
can
saying, well,
always
yes, I
say
feared
that.
for my life.
No,
in
you
this
can always
activity.
say that.
So they're not going to ban it that way, you know. But I like I say, I barely heard a portion of his before I was overcome
But
with nausea.
you know what, Doc? I'd be interested to know, right? Because you've been a lot in law enforcement,
But guys,
right?
I'm gonna thank you all for
Okay.
joining us.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye all.